Good morning, great Americans. It's another great American video from Kentucky. And Great American Real News Links. Please go to the Great American Real News Links Substack page and subscribe for free. Or you don't even have to subscribe. You can just go there and read it, but you can subscribe for free. Whatever. Um, okay, listen, man. This I this is one of those days when I saw something online and it just pissed me off. And I jumped on, turned on the computer, or well, the computer was already on, but I turned on my camera and I got no script. I got no script. I'm unscripted. I'm not. I have no bullet points. I'm just pissed. But I know this topic well enough that I don't think I really need a script. And here it is. We all know about fake news, and fake news has gotten really, really, really bad during the Trump administration and somewhat before that too. Really bad. I mean, it is bad. They lie about all that. But let me tell you something. There's a few topics that have been around for a long time, and by now everybody should be well informed about the fake news and the lies and the propaganda surrounding these particular topics. And if you're not, then you're just a fucking idiot, man. And there's a lot of idiots online this morning surrounding this one particular topic. And that topic is cutting spending and reducing the deficit. Now, we all know if you have even just the slightest bit of intelligence, and if you're somewhat of an honest person, we all know that government is so corrupt, or I should say, especially Congress people are so corrupt, and special interests and all kinds of stuff have their claws so deep into Congress, you just can't cut the deficit anymore. Every president since, look at, this really began in earnest with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan and the Reagan Revolution, he wrote in the town, says, we're we're going to cut taxes because he knew from John F. Kennedy of all people that when you reduce taxes, you actually increase revenue and you spur economic growth. So Ronald Reagan says we're going to cut taxes and we're also going to decrease government because small government is the way of the founding fathers. So he cut taxes and wanted to slash all kinds of unnecessary government spending. So what happened? Those of us, I voted for Ronald Reagan in 1980 and 1984, and those of us who were around know we know exactly what happened. What happened is the Democrats who back then had a lock on Congress. A lot of people don't realize it. There was a time when the Democrats had a iron grip on Congress for over 50 years in a row. By the time Reagan came around, it was almost just like assumed that Democrats control Congress, and that's just the way it is. We never even dreamed of Republicans taking control of Congress until Newt Gingrich in 1994. But anyway, I'm digressing. Anyway, back to the topic. So Ronald Reagan says we're going to cut taxes and we're going to slash spending to even it out, right? So the Democrats, again, who had the iron grip on Congress, they gave him the spending cuts, or excuse me, they gave him the tax cuts because they were popular. And Democrats always, they have no morals and ethics, and they'll always go for the easy, popular thing. And so they gave him the tax cuts, but they did not give him the spending cuts because those are unpopular. Every time you try to cut spending in all the various departments, you're always stepping on somebody's toes, and then the special interests jump in, and then they accuse you. Oh, you're going to starve grandma. You hate children. You want to destroy. They'll come up with all kinds of fear mongering. And the Democrats are really good at fear mongering. I have a couple of videos about that. But they are so good at spreading fear, just core gut fear, that nobody seems to be able to cut spending. And so with Ronald Reagan began in earnest the age of real deficits. Now the deficits and the debt in Reagan's time was peanuts compared to what we got now. But that's when uh, deficits became a common in the common political speak when people are talking about politics and they're and voting in elections. Deficits in the age of Reagan, and they blame Reagan, but it's not Reagan's fault. Reagan put forth tax cuts and spending cuts to match. And the Democrats, who, again, I took back then, they had an iron grip on Congress. They just total dictatorial control of Congress. They gave them the tax cuts because they were popular. They did not give them the spending cuts because, Democrats love to spend. So the result was the beginning of the age of deficits. So that's a little brief history, right? But ever since then, so we're talking what, 45 years since 45 years since Ronald Reagan was elected. For 45 years, we Republicans have tried to cut spending. We tried to introduce a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Uh, Ronald Reagan tried to introduce the line item veto. Probably you younger people don't remember this, but Ronald Reagan used to love to say, well, most governors in America have a line item veto, and the president should have a line item veto. And a line item veto basically means that when the Congress passes the budget, when the Congress passes the budget, the president can sign the budget, but then he can veto lines that he doesn't want to spend money on, right? So if you've got 100 lines, you slash a few lines, but you can still sign the budget, and that's great. That's a great tool for the president to be able to cut unnecessary spending. But of course, the Congress would not give him or any other president the line item veto. They would not pass the balanced budget amendment. And every Republican president since Ronald Reagan to Trump today, whenever they try to cut spending, and they have tried many, many times, they run up against the fear machine, that good old KKK Democrat mentality of spreading fear. Remember, Democrats are all about fear. Trump is Hitler. If you vote for Trump, the democracy will come to an end. Biden said that Republicans want to put black people in chains. I mean, they spread fear. And every time we've tried to cut spending, the fear machine kicks in. Oh, they're going to starve children. They want to take away children's lunches. They want to take away your Social Security. They want to take away your Medicare. They want to kill your grandmother. They want to throw your aunt off the cliff. There was actually one political commercial back when Paul Ryan was a Republican Speaker of the House. A Democrat commercial literally had Paul Ryan pushing someone's grandmother in a wheelchair off of a cliff. I mean, come on, man. So why am I freaking out today? I'll tell you why. We finally have a little bit of movement, okay? The House just passed a rescissions package slashing $9 billion in bloated spending. Foreign aid, NPR, PBS. Oh God, thank God PBS is getting defunded. On the chopping block, every Republican in the House except for two voted yes. Okay, that all Democrats voted no. See, they don't want to cut spending. Um, Now, is this just a drop in the bucket? Yes. Do we need much more? Yes. Do we need to actually balance the budget? Yes. But here's the part, and here's the part that's pissing me off. The Gateway Pundit posted this on on um, on X, and these responses are what piss me off. Somebody says, "Oh, why isn't it 9 trillion?" Oh, I'm sorry. We cut 9 billion. Now you want to cut nine. I'll tell you why it's not 9 trillion. For all the reasons that I just got through saying since the beginning of this video. You start cutting, the Democrats play the fear card, and everybody gets scared, and nobody does the cutting. They just don't have the balls or the cojones to do it. Oh, and then there's another tool, by the way, that we have tried several times, and that always backfires. That tool is the famous government shutdown, right? So a Republican president will say, "Listen, I'm not signing this spending bill. It's too much spending. You got to cut it." And then the clock ticks down, and then they go into the government shutdown. And what happens every time there's a government shutdown? The propaganda and fake news kick in. They show they show images of national parks being closed, and oh, the kids can't go camping at the park, and oh, look, the libraries are closed, and how horrible is this? Oh, it's so terrible and it's horrible. Oh, that Republican president is so horrible for closing the government. And then a few days go by, and then they pass a spending thing, and they reopen the government. It never works. It never works because nobody has the balls and the cojones to stick with it. People buy into the fear. And there's another fake news line that people buy into. And here's some woman who responded to this Gateway Pundit post, and she's so stupid. Somebody named Yorkshire Lass. Hey, stay in England, you moron. We don't need your. So she says, if they think slashing vital services and foreign aid is the answer, they're barking up the wrong tree. Well, fuck you. Your little tiny island doesn't give anybody anything anyway. You're trying to spend my money? Stay in England, you friggin' limey. But listen, but what she did was she fell into the trap that most people do. When we say we're going to cut Medicare, we're going to cut things like that. It doesn't mean we're going to cut people's benefits. It means we have identified waste and fraud, and other things too, like illegal aliens getting benefit. That, of course, that falls under fraud. We have identified waste and fraud, and that is what we're cutting. You would think, but people jump to the conclusion when you say cutting Medicare, they just assume it means you're cutting people's benefits because people are idiots. But that's why you can't ever get anything done. It's because these are the kind of stupidities that people jump to. It's like the education department. Trump wants to slash the education department. Ronald Reagan, 40 years ago, wanted to cut the education department. This is nothing new. And what do the fear mongers do? The same thing. Oh, you want to hurt the kids? Oh, little Johnny can't learn how to read. They'll teach, but they'll find a way to teach him how to change his pronouns and cut his genitals off and get an abortion, but they won't teach him how to read. But here's the thing. In reality, almost all 99% of education funding and education administration and everything is at the local level. Your local school district has your local property taxes and stuff. That's what pays for education. The Department of Education on the federal level is nothing but a bureaucratic dung pile. It does nothing for schools. You know what it does? I'll tell you what it does. They offer little tiny bits of money. And of course, people always love money. So they offer little tiny bits of money and programs to certain schools, and then they attach rules and regulations. So see, this is how the federal government gets their claws into your local things, schools and whatever, trying to impose national regulations, right? So for example, under Obama, the Department of Education, they trickle out a little bit of money, and the schools like the money. And then Obama says, but you have to let boys in the girls' bathroom because they're transgenders and shit like that. See, that's what corrupt Democrats use the Department of Education for. They'll toss out a little bit of money, and then they impose, and if you want to use this money, here's what you have to do. But the fact is that money accounts for just a teeny tiny. If you do away with the Department of Education, no school is going to notice it. You're not going to notice it. Oh, you know what you might notice? In a big high school with hundreds of classes and hundreds of teachers, you might notice that a special computer class is now no longer available, or one special something. Oh, that special class on computer business is no longer available. The one tiny thing, whatever it might be, that the federal thing grant was paying for, one little bitty tiny thing might disappear. But other than that, you're not going to notice it. Nobody is even going to know that the Department of Education has disappeared. But this is what I'm talking about. But this is why you can't cut government. And this is why, and now here's the conclusion of this video. Do not get angry with Trump because the cuts are so small, because it's all he can do. You want him to balance the budget, you're going to have to make him a dictator or make him a king. As long as you got the Congress, you are not going to balance the budget. They're just scared. The fear mongering kicks in, and then of course, so many Congress people are corrupt, and they get scared of bad press, and they don't want to be accused of cutting little Johnny's lunch money, and so they don't do the cuts necessary. They've all got special legend. Listen, you should all know by now. Have you ever heard the phrase "bring home the bacon"? A lot of times that has to do with like a husband or a wife who's the one who brings home the bacon, right? Who's the one who makes the money? It's also applied to Congress people. A good Congressperson is considered to be the congressman who brings home the bacon to his district, right? Uh, it, and by the way, not to change the subject, but just to give you a little context there, that is why the committees having to do with national security and defense are. That's why every congressman wants to be on the defense committees and the military committees. Why? Because those are the ones that allocate funds, right? And if you can get a military base in your district, you got tons of money coming in. Oh man, when there's a military base in a district, tons. Just think about it. All the people, all the military people come in, and then they're spending money in the local stores, and they're buying houses, and they're buying cars, and it's a. That's why the most corrupt, people like remember that guy, the Senator McCain, John McCain. Yes, my friends. John McCain was so corrupt. Anyway, the point is that a good congressman is considered to be the one who brings the bacon home. That means brings money home. So every time you start to slash government, you're taking away their bacon, right? That bacon that they fought so hard to bring home to their district, you're taking it away. And you know what that means? They're not going to vote for it. So you're always stepping on somebody's toes when you try to cut government, and that's why you can't do it. And that's why, we're in big trouble. By the way, I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit now, but just so you know, there are certain things in this universe which you can never stop. For example, someday our sun will run out of fuel and it will go away. And when that happens, all life on the planet Earth will cease to exist, except maybe some frozen microbes in the North Pole or something like that. But so someday the human beings will cease to exist, and the life on Earth as we know it will cease to exist when the sun runs out of fuel. Now you're like, oh, that's terrible. It's just a fact. It will happen. It's not a guess or a maybe. It will happen. Now, let me tell you something else that will happen. Eventually, our deficits and our debt will grow so big. Right now, we're at like 40 trillion, 45 trillion, whatever. It's insane already. We're in danger red zone. But soon, relatively soon, our debt will grow so big that it will literally destroy this nation. And you think that recession under Bush was bad? You think Biden inflation was bad? You think the big crash of the 1930s before World War II, you think that was bad? You ain't seen nothing yet. You wait until that debt reaches the crushing point, and we will turn into a third world nation of people living in tents and people living in shanty towns, and it'll look like the outskirts of Mexico City. Yeah, it's coming. And our Congress is incapable of doing it. Trump can't do it. Don't you think Trump wants to cut this budget? He's a businessman. He knows that you can't run a business the way, but he can't do anything about it. He can't. If he was to propose a balanced budget, it would immediately get thrown in the trash can the second it hits Congress. And if he says, "Well, I'm not," and if he says, "Well, we're not going to sign anything unless the balanced budget," then we go into government shutdown, and he gets blamed for the government shutdown. He's stuck. We have we have created a monster. We're like on a train, a runaway train that's going to go off the cliff, and nobody can stop it. There's only I don't know. To me, the only way you can stop it, so first of all, somebody has to explain it to the American people in a real way. There needs to be a real speech to the American people that explains the dangers of the debt and the coming destruction of America. And I guess the only way to, since you can't count on anybody to be disciplined enough to do it themselves in Congress, the only way you can fix it is with a balanced budget amendment. So, but otherwise we're on the road to destruction. But here's what made me mad and why I began making this video. Don't blame Trump. Okay, it's good news that the Congress passed this spending cut, and it's a tiny step in the right direction. But you can bet Trump wanted more. He'd love to balance the budget. He's stuck. He is stuck in a system. Trump is the engineer on a runaway train, like that movie. Remember that movie where the train was just running away? He is the engineer on a runaway train, and he can't stop it. He can't stop it. You could be. I mean, he can't stop it. Imagine if you're a pilot on a plane and the wings fall off. of the plane, and then the plane's diving. You could be the greatest pilot in the world, the greatest. You can't stop it. You're going to crash. Ain't a damn thing you can do about it. That's so. Well, I'm sorry if the cuts aren't big enough for you, and frankly, they're not big enough for me either. But if they're not big enough for you, then you got no one to blame but yourselves for always crying whenever somebody tries to really cut the budget. But what you can't do is you cannot blame Trump. You cannot blame Trump. There's nothing he could do. Just like, and he's probably tried harder than any Republican president before him. He brought in Doge. He identified all kinds of stuff. Look what happened when Doge identified all the waste. The Democrats engaged in a terrorist campaign against him. What what do you want, man? The Democrats will literally engage in terrorism if they think you are really getting close to making serious slashes in government. You want to be mad at somebody, be mad at them. So Trump, there's nothing he can do. If he says he won't sign a spending bill, then the government shuts down and he gets blamed. And then nobody ever allows the shutdown to go on longer than a couple weeks. If he signs a spending bill, then everybody says, oh, look, see, he lied. He doesn't want to cut the budget. He's stuck. Don't blame Trump. Don't blame Trump. Congress is fully to blame, and mostly the Democrats, because they're the ones that really engage in the fear mongering about spending cuts. And like I said, the first person to ever be super duper serious about cutting was Trump and Elon Musk with Doge, and look what they did to him. The runaway trend. I think a balanced budget amendment is our only savior. Otherwise, the question is not if we will be destroyed by our crushing debt, but when. But don't blame Trump. That's what I'm here to tell you this morning. Don't blame Trump. Because you cannot tell me what the answer is. How does Trump balance the budget? You have no answer. You have no answer. Nobody out there has. Everybody who's complaining that these cuts are too small does not have an answer on how to make them bigger. Because if you try to make them bigger, the fear mongering kicks in and the fake news kicks in, and nobody will vote for it. If you try to shut down the government, then that never works. If you try to introduce a balanced budget, it goes straight in the trash can. There's nothing you can do. So don't blame Trump. So good for him, and good for the Congress for passing this budget slashing thing. I agree, it's not nearly enough, but you can't blame Trump. You can't blame the people. To blame are the Congress and mostly the Democrats in Congress. I mean, there's some Republicans too. There's some Republicans there's some rhinos out there that we got to get rid of. Some globalists and swampers and all that stuff. But it's mostly the Democrats in Congress. That's who's to blame. If the spending cuts that just got signed are not big enough for you, look toward the Democrats and the Congress. They're the ones to blame. Anyway, I went a little long. Thanks for watching. See my other videos. And I will see you in the next Great American video. Adios, muchachos.